I know we were talking about what topic should we cover today. What's kind of a hot topic, evergreen topic that we're constantly hearing from our leaders. And naturally, we settled on priorities.
Of course.
I mean, seems like that's just the common challenge for all of us today. We live in a noisy world, lots of stuff competing for our attention. So when you think about priorities, maybe a good way to kick this off, how do you see that show up with your clients and our clients? Where do you see that tension coming into play?
You know, it's a constant part of a coaching discussion. Every time I'm talking to a client, working with a client, we always settle on this discussion about priorities. So clearly it's top of mind for the people that I work with. I assume the same for you. And what I find very interesting, and this is actually sort of a blog post topic that I'm working on right now, is I find that people have sort of an aspirational list of priorities. But that is sometimes compared to and in contrast with the actual priorities. So what I mean by that is aspirationally in a very calm place, if I were to ask you your priorities or if you were to ask me mine, we probably have the usual suspects. Oh, well, clearly it's faith and family and health and work, and work is a distant fourth. But when you actually work with clients and talk to them, it's usually the reverse. Work is always at the top, and all those other priorities get the scraps of time left over. So I think it's interesting to talk about the contrast.
Yeah, so I'm smirking. You can tell, people listening can't tell, because I've got a great question for you.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a curveball.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You had your coffee?
I've had my coffee.
Okay. If you were to offer us a definition of what real priorities are, just take your best shot. What is that? How can we get a better handle on what are the real priorities?
I think real priorities are where you actually invest your most time and energy. So if you look at your calendar during a given week, where you have invested time and energy, if you look at the places and you kind of tally up the percentages for each, that really reflects your priorities. Now, you could probably have people in the audience arguing, well, I've got to work, I've got to do all these things. Granted, yes, but that doesn't mean that work has to be the dominant priority in your life. So I think, and we've talked about this before, if you want things to really matter, if you want things to really come to life in your daily world, you've got to be intentional. You've got to schedule them. You've got to make sure those things are not only on the calendar, but that you honor them. If you're a person of faith and you pray, if you exercise, those things need to be on the calendar and not get moved around with the whims of the workday. And if we schedule those things and schedule work around them, guess what? We'll be happier, we'll be healthier, and also work will benefit. That's my take.
I love that. I think that's beautiful. I'm glad you went immediately to time.
Yeah.
It's how we spend our time.
Yes.
So, priorities are, to me, it's a verb.
Yes.
It's not a noun. It's action. Where are you actually spending your time in a given week? That's your real priorities. The pie in the sky priorities are things that, we hope for, but it's not actually necessarily how we're operating. So I love that idea. Okay, well, I think everyone listening to this says, all right, well, that sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
What makes it not so simple?
Well, this reminds me of an article that I read by Pat Lencioni, author Pat Lencioni, 20 years ago on Harvard Business Review. And in the article, he was talking about values. And he said, and I'll bring this back to priorities in a minute, but he said, on every wall in the lobby of every company building, you'll find sort of our values. These are our core values. Somewhere in the hallway, there's a poster that says our values. The website has the values listed. And those are the things that sound good, they feel good. It's their aspirational list of values. But then he talked about in the article accidental values. And he said, where you invest your time and energy reflects what your values are. And one of the funny examples that he gave that I think is very interesting, I use it all the time, is if you're a company that's a meeting culture, well, meetings may have become an accidental value of your company because you spend all your time in them. So take that comparison into this priority discussion. We certainly have aspirational priorities, things that we care about and they sound great and we feel really good every time we say them, but maybe accidentally we have a different set of priorities. Maybe our priorities are just going from useless meeting to useless meeting. Maybe we're expending our energies unwisely during the day. We're not efficient with our time. All kinds of ways that we waste our time. So it's interesting to kind of think about aspirational and accidental, aspirational and real priority.